Okay, I want to show you a picture here. This was sent to me by somebody. And here we got six teenagers. They're eighth graders at the time. Obviously, this is an old picture. Um, but anyway, this is a very significant old picture. And anyway, I'm doing this for my own edification. Okay. Now, if we were to go back and think about the people that we wanted to meet in our lifetime, this guy here at the lower left, this is Mr. Purdy. And I got to say, he is one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. He is superior to any general I've ever met, ever, before I went in the Army and even after. But here we got Roland Hall. It's a private school in Salt Lake City, Utah. And these two buildings here, actually, this is the same picture. But these buildings here, they were built by Brigham Young. Yeah, Brigham Young built this school for his children. Brigham Young was a prophet of the Mormon church, highly polygamous. When I went to a Mormon school, we were told that he had 19 wives. Then they changed it to 21. And then they changed to 56. And now, I guess Brigham Young had one wife. So the Mormons keep changing the story about Brigham Young. But he did build this school for his children. And this is my school, but the Mormons lost it. And it became a private school, and they even had a chapel. And yes, this is actually the same building. Actually, it's all one big building, but it's connected. He did have a chapel. I guess they were Episcopalian, although they didn't push religion very much. They did not push religion, and not only did they not push religion, they honored the Jewish religions, and so we had a lot of Jews that attended this school. And anyway, this is like, well, let's just say the finest school in Utah at the time, and certainly one of the finest schools in the world. And this gentleman here, Mr. Purdy, is definitely one of the best people I've met in my entire life. So it was a privilege to have known him. I cannot say enough about him that is positive. But, the thing about him was on the evolutionary chart, he was pushing it to the right. Yeah, it was like a different species, and I mean in a good way. He was he was smarter than, people, but not just raw intellect. I mean, he was pushing that evolutionary chart to the right, and he just seemed to be a cut above everybody else. You don't meet many people like this. I mean, it's very rare. Most people, what you meet, are pushing the evolutionary chart to the left. So, yeah, if there is a superior human being, this would be a specimen of human superiority, and that is no exaggeration. And I'm not just flaunting compliments to this guy, because he was, well, like I said, he's one of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life. And then we go a step further, and here's another guy. This is Albert Adams. I don't know if he's still alive or not. I hope so, and I hope I get to see him again. I knew him. And when I think about Mr. Purdy, I was wondering, am I ever going to meet a guy of his caliber again? Yes, there he is. Al Adams is of the same caliber as Mr. Purdy. And he is another one that is pushing the evolutionary chart to the right. I mean, it's almost like, people evolving. You're watching people evolve in a superior way. This is another one. And again, one of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life, Al Adams. And when I knew him, he looked like this. He was one of my teachers at CSS. He was a great guy. And the thing is, when we talk about management and solving a crisis, these guys had no problem solving it. I mean, Mr. Purdy, boom. I mean, it was like a crisis would be like to everybody else a magic trick, and Mr. Purdy would come up with a solution within seconds. So did Al Adams. Now, the thing about Al Adams is if we had a big problem, he would solve it quickly but he would not be aware of the immediate results. So he would go back and check to see how he did. And believe you me, this guy was, well, extremely good. He was in the same league as Mr. Purdy. Again, one of the finest people I've ever met in my entire life. And if we go to the Colorado Springs School, now a lot of people say, what school did you go to? And I said, the Colorado Springs School. They said, which one? There's only one. Okay? Which one? Are you talking about St. Ferry's? No, I'm not talking about St. Ferry. I'm talking about the Colorado Springs School. Now look at this campus, huh? Look at that. That's a beautiful school building, huh? Very nice. And I am glad to say that I am an alumnus of that school. Unfortunately, after that, I went to this. Holy shit. I mean, come on. Going from this to this? I mean, good lordy. Now, I mean, and we got your public schools, basically. All right. And, yeah, we got your public schools. And they were not nearly as good as the private schools. Not even close. I mean, they were far inferior. And I'm not saying that just to be criticizing, but it's a fact. It's an obvious fact. Okay. Now, here we got a private school south of the Mason-Dixon line. This is my son's alma mater. I would say good school, except the problem was they said, how can we be like a public school? I said, what are you talking about? Yeah, they would hire public school teachers. The problem with public school teachers is they think like public school teachers. Okay? You don't send your children to private schools because they have public school teachers or they're like public schools. No, you send them there because you want a superior education. These guys didn't seem to get that, though. They're thinking, okay, what can we do to become like a public school teacher? And if we go south of the Mason-Dixon line to the public schools, you got Onion Grove and Heritage High School. And, of course, in the bottom left, you got T.J. Solomon, not to be confused with T.J. Hooker. Yeah, school shooting at Heritage High School. If you want to learn more about Heritage, watch The Lost Children of Rockdale County, BBC production. And you got a deputy sergeant, he's a supervisor. This is a before and after picture. Yeah, he became an inmate. That's why M Against the Press says, I want to see your supervisor. Yeah, oh wait, here's another one. Another before and after. So, yeah. So police, yeah, he's now an inmate. And then we got the guy on the far left. Actually, the guy on the far left is actually okay. So he was not an issue. So if we're going to look at, let's say, private schools, okay, north of the Mason-Dixon line, let's say that the private school, let's say it's an integral calculus problem. And for those of you who are interested, yeah, okay. That should be enough information to get you going. Yeah, integration, and it's called a definite integral. Okay. All right. And there it is. So if this is representation of a private school, public school north of the Mason-Dixon line would be more like this. Yeah, this would be, I'm just doing an analogy. And let's say private school south of the Mason-Dixon line would be something along these lines. And let's say public school south of the Mason-Dixon line. And again, we got Onion Grove and Heritage High School. Yeah. But let's say if I want to use another analogy, let's say I wanted to use a beautiful lady to define a private school. I'm using two private schools north of the Mason-Dixon line. And here we have a beautiful lady. Now, if this is the standard, let's compare it to a public school north of the Mason-Dixon line. Yeah, that would be a good representation. Good analogy there. And what about a private school south of the Mason-Dixon line? Yeah, this would be about this. And how about a public school south of the Mason-Dixon line? Yeah. And we got Onion Grove, Heritage High School. Yeah, you know what? If you go to Heritage High School, take a visit to Rockdale County Jail because that's where you're going to be living pretty soon. I mean, we got a lot of those. Now, let's say if we want to look at, oh, look at this. Let's represent, oh, look at this. Let's use this to represent our private schools north of the Mason-Dixon line. Oh, yes. Yes, this is good food, guys. Yeah, I know, you guys don't believe me. What about the public schools? Yeah, okay, north of the Mason-Dixon line, we got our public school. And what about our private schools south of the Mason-Dixon line? Okay. And what about the public schools? So we're using restaurants to illustrate. South of the Mason-Dixon line public school? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we got Onion Grove, Heritage High School. But yes, you don't meet people like this very often. And the thing is, if you're working for a public school, yeah, this is what you're going to be working for. Yeah. Okay. And somebody called it.
Now, here's a book about lung cancer. You see, all the cigarette smokers got into a panic, so for everybody's peace of mind, we burn it. Ah, now this one must be very profound. The Ethics of Aristotle. Now, anybody that read that must believe he's a cut above anybody that hadn't. See, it's no good, Montag. We've all got to be alike. The only way to be happy is for everyone to be made equal.
Okay, and this is a critique of what's happening with the public schools. The public school administrators and teachers are pushing the evolutionary chart to the left. And most people will never meet people like Mr. Purdy or Mr. Adams. But I got to say, I was gifted to be in their presence. And you know what they did is they made people smarter. Yeah. I'm not claiming to be smart because I didn't spend a lot of time with them. I wish I spent more time with them. But anyway, this is a representation of public school ideology.
So, we must burn the books, Montag. All the books.
This is Mein Kampf. I don't know if you can see it or not. But this is Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. And you know what? They do burn books in Georgia. And they do ban books. Now, the private schools north of the Mason-Dixon line did not do that. Private schools south of the Mason-Dixon line, yeah, because they're striving to be like public schools. But there is no doubt about it. There is no mistake. If you want to be a superior person, you have to hang around superior people. Like Mr. Purdy, Mr. Adams. And they're not going to be found in the public schools.